Yo, what's going on, guys? Today we are talking about a huge patch coming into the game by 12 p.m. Pacific or 3 p.m. Eastern. It is huge. It is game-changing. The Iridian Fabricator, the Veteran Rewards Machine, a complete overhaul to farming and looting in this game, which is going to be absolutely awesome. They addressed double-dipping Mayhem modifiers on stuff. They addressed bonus projectiles from bonus elements, just so you guys know. So wait till you hear how they did that. Headcount fixed, pets buffed, lots of good actual bug fixes. In my opinion, this is one of the great Mayhem 2.0 rebalancing patches. The other rebalancing patches have been really good, Phase 1 and Phase 2, and this is just like those, just to go along with those. It's awesome. So pretty much, yeah, let's get straight into it. Now, I just want to remind you guys, by the end of this video, if you want to support the channel, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment down below. All the stuff that us YouTubers ask you to do actually helps us for free. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Today, we will release the update or the patch for Borderlands 3, which will be live on all platforms by 12 p.m. Pacific. Or 3 p.m. Eastern, and it says with the exception of Mac, which is actually going to go live next week. In this update, they focused on quality of life updates and some player reported concerns. They also mention, make sure you are applying your hotfixes. Just so you guys know, there is actually a hotfix introduced with this patch, and that's because they can only get so much of the patch certified and all at once, and they can do their hotfixes whenever they want. So we're gonna go over that at the end, but make sure your hotfixes are applied. Now, first off the bat, we have some new quality of life changes. The legendary firing mode for the Iridian Fabricator. So now the gun will literally have an alternate firing mode that will shoot 1 to 3 legendaries for 250 Iridium. This is absolutely insane. Even if it's just world drops, just giving it an alternate firing mode to shoot legendaries is pretty cool. It's what a lot of people asked for since launch, and this will make it pretty fun for, you know, different runs or just farming for certain world drops. Next up, we have mission rewards being added to the Veteran Rewards vending machines. Players can now purchase previously rewarded mission rewards in the Veteran Rewards machine just outside of Crazy Earl's door on Sanctuary 3. As missions are completed, their rewards are added to the pool and can be purchased once again using Iridium. So we have lots of uses for our Iridium. I really hope we see like the crew challenge weapons like the Zero Hunt and some of the other stuff. Even like if we could buy a Scoville, please, but you know, we'll see later. Now, we've already gotten into some of the loot stuff. Now we are going to get into the dramatic change to the farming system. This is absolutely huge changes. The first note they have is chests and badass reward adjustments. Quality of rewards found in chest and drop from badasses have been buffed. Now, this is one of the larger changes. There's 2 parts to this change. So we're going to go over this part, and there's a whole second part coming. Dedicated loot pool adjustments. The dedicated loot pools for bosses have been given a dramatic overhaul in hopes of making for a more reliable and satisfying farming experience. Most bosses have only 2 pieces of gear assigned to them, though there are going to be some exceptions. To reach this goal, they enabled respawning on the following bosses and reshuffled gear between bosses more evenly. Basically what they did is they added a ton of named enemies that are up on the screen right now. Pause the video if you want to read it, but this is a ton of named enemies they added to the loot pool. Now, how the loot pool currently works is when you go to farm a boss like Kilovolt, he has 5 dedicated drops behind him. 5. Now, how it works is, let's say, this is just an example number, but let's say he drops a dedicated drop 30% of the time. So he has basically a 3 out of 10 chance to drop a dedicated drop, and then your chance of getting the Monarch, the specific one you want, is split by 30%. It's split by how many drops are in his loot pool. Now, that's just a basic idea of how it works. I believe there is some weighted options within that, but that is essentially how it currently works. So what they did was, instead of Kilovolt having 5 loot drops now, this is just a guess. I think he's going to end up having 3, but 2 or 3 drops. So now what'll happen is you get that 3 out of 10 chance to get your dedicated drop, and it's only split between 2 options or 3 options. So this ultimately buffs the loot rate. Now, the next major change, I love this change. There's actually one thing I dislike about it, and I'll tell you guys in a second. But they thinned the anointment pool. There are finally anointments that you can roll on, that you cannot roll on weapons anymore. All these sliding and airborne anointments are gone. Then we have, while an action skill is active, reduce all incoming damage by a small amount. While an action skill is active, 250% health damage is returned to the attacker as shock damage. Action skill end crit damage is increased by 25%. Action skill end cyber spike is gone. Action skill end spawn a healing pool for several seconds is gone. Action skill end fire rate and reload speed. Action skill end accuracy and handling. Action skill end movement speed. Action skill end 30% of damage taken is returned to the attacker for a short time. And then there's also, after exiting Iron Bear, do not consume ammo for 5 seconds. After using Phase Slam, damage taken is reduced by 20%, and yada yada. And after using Phase Grasp, accuracy and handling. So if you heard a bad anointment that you didn't like, that is now, like, all of those are now out of the loot pool. So now you have a better chance to get a Monarch from Kilovolt, and on top of that, you have a better chance to get the anointment you want. So these are just current changes. Obviously, it's going to make things a lot better. But when we get into the game and we try it out, the one thing I wanted to say was I actually like the sliding anointment, the sliding damage specifically. So I am sad to see that one go. I actually wanted them to buff it with the airborne anointment to like 75% or 100%, and it would have been very, very good. But, you know, I'm glad that the anointment pool is thinner because there's so many options like Cyber Spike we are never going to see again. And, you know, see you later. One last note they left on the drop rates. A few bosses have had some minor tweaks made to improve their looting experience, but we have left most of the drop rates unchanged. With the thinning of the dedicated loot pools and the removal of 21 anointments, we decided to observe these changes first, then make changes as needed in the future. Now, we will make videos on this. I will get the info and make a video on drop rates in this game after the patch. I don't know how long after the patch, it'll depend. But basically, like, yeah, this is a whole topic in and of itself, so let's move on. Now, the next thing they addressed was bonus elements creating bonus projectiles. Let's just go over what they said. They reduced the number of projectiles that spawn due to damage dealt when using multiple elements on enemies and limited the number of times projectile bounce to 4. We have adjusted how projectiles from damage events spawn. We found spikes in stability and performance concerns when too many elemental projectiles were spawning during gameplay. This was due to some weapons spawning many more projectiles than game performance recommended. The recursion, the carrier, the bearcat, apparently, the lead sprinkler, and others will see the effects from this change. And they will also be monitoring how players will be using these weapons for any possible adjustments in the future. Now, this is something that, you know, I'm surprised about, because I didn't expect this day to ever come, because this has been in the game since the beginning. You know, it wasn't actually really discovered until the bonus element on grenade and shield anointments came out with the Malawan takedown. So that's when it was really discovered and set in stone. And it's basically been so long since then. But I am not going to lie, I am not surprised by this. We all know that the recursion crashes games. Like, this was a crazy bug, and they didn't even completely nerf it. Apparently, they limited the number of times projectiles bounce to 4. So I don't know if that means you can have 4 total bonus elements. You know, that's how many people are adding to guns like the recursion anyway. So this is going to need to be tested to really find out how it works after this patch. This isn't really something we can comment on right now, like genuinely, because we're going to have to test this. We don't know how it's going to work, how it's going to affect these weapons. That's really all I'm going to say about it. Next, they have addressed a lot of Mayhem double dipping, and let's just go straight over. The first was they addressed a reported concern where the splat attack from the Beastmaster's pet Scorcher was unintentionally receiving Mayhem damage scaling multiple times. So basically the Scorcher was the only pet of Flax dealing damage, and it was because it was unintended. The little attack command, the Fire Puddle, was getting Mayhem scaling twice basically. Now they have removed this, but the next note says increased pet damage scaling in Mayhem. Now remember the first sentence I just said, the only pet that was doing damage of Flax was the Scorcher, and it was because of this bug. So they fixed the bug and then they buffed the pets. And they even said, after making changes to the Scorcher's splat, we wanted to make sure it and other pets still felt fun and capable of competitive amounts of damage in Mayhem, so we buffed pet damage accordingly. Once again, this is a whole nother subject that will require testing to really evaluate whether they buffed them enough, but let's hope for the best for now. Next, they addressed a bug where the clone and the OPQ were basically double dipping Mayhem scaling. Now, they also say with certain weapons like the OPQ, I believe the Breath of the Dying and a weapon like the Chaos was also doing this. So once again, we will test to see if those weapons are still doing it. And yeah. Next, they addressed a bug where the Gunner's Iron Bear and certain class mods like the Minesweeper could interact in a way that received Mayhem damage scaling multiple times, once again. They also say we identified a behavior in our damage pipeline that created opportunities for certain gear and skill combos to do excessive amounts of damage. We determined these combos were not aligned with the rest of the game and made a solution that better fits our intended balance goals. Anytime Iron Bear would spawn a Minesweeper grenade, it would double dip the Mayhem buff, which was times 31 for Mayhem 10. So it was doing something like times 900 damage, the Minesweeper grenades, on Mayhem 10, and they addressed this. Don't worry, Iron Bear was not touched. Iron Bear is still extremely powerful. They addressed some concerns that the Gunner and Operative were experiencing unintentional levels of damage increase with a variety of class mods in Mayhem mode, addressed a concern where the Anointment, while an action skill is active, constantly trigger novas that deal X damage, was incorrectly scaling when players received Mayhem modifiers scaling skill damage. The Siren's ties that bind skill now scales properly with action skill damage. So this was a fix they promised in Phase 2. Addressed a reported concern that the Cosmic Crater legendary artifact did not scale the elemental puddle damage with the slam damage in Mayhem. So this is actually kind of funny because I just reviewed all of the melee and slam artifacts in a video on my channel just the other day. And I was saying the Cosmic Crater was doing really bad damage. I guess it was not Mayhem scaling, so that's pretty cool. Now let's talk about some character changes. These ones are where a lot of the flack fixes come in. But first, players can no longer emote cancel to exploit anarchy stacks, not the stacks. Give us our easy stacks, but whatever, it's gone. Next, they addressed a reported concern where Flack's Headcount, it did not function with racks. So hopefully when we go into the game later, we can spam rack attack again. Amazing fix. Addressed a reported concern where vibration effect from Flack's Burst Aid persists after the action skill ends. Addressed a reported concern where Flack's normal Jabber pet command was not functioning correctly. They updated Mose's Selfless Vengeance to scale the duration with each rank invested. So that is an interesting little buff to that skill. They removed the Mose teleport skip from Scourge when you're going in and out of Iron Bear. I think you can still do Daka Bear, but I'm not sure, obviously. You know, we'll test. They also addressed a reported concern that the grenade launcher did not deal extra damage when equipped with Stainless Steel Bear passive ability while using Mose's Auto Bear. So the grenade launcher is a little bit better now. And finally, this section is actually the hotfixes, but there are some character fixes in here. So this kind of goes with the last section. But once again, this is the hotfixes part of the patch. This patch was not just a patch. They're also putting hotfixes today. So make sure you apply your hotfixes. And yeah, the Gunner's Anarchy stacks no longer are lost when entering Iron Bear, so now you can get in and out of Iron Bear with the Anarchy and you will keep your stacks. Addressed a bug that was causing the Siren's Rad Element Anointment to do less than indicated in the description. Oh, so this is Amara's Radiation Siren Anointment that always says the wrong number and it's always 40%. So I believe it'll be 40% now. I don't know, we'll see. Change the listed damage increase on personal space to reflect what is happening in game. So we will see what that fix is. Addressed a reported concern that Rage and Recover was not increasing the healing rate of pets. So hopefully they fixed Rage and Recover in general. And those are basically all of the important hotfixes. Now, I didn't mention any of the UI bugs, audio bugs, visual bugs, FX bugs, stuff like that, random fixes, story progression blockers. There was a lot of that too. I am going to put up on the screen all of them in a list. You can pause the video and read it if you want to. If not, that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this breakdown. In my opinion, I loved almost everything on this patch. Like I said, I actually do miss the slide damage. That's one thing. And I also am curious to try out a lot of other stuff because of some stuff they said. Some of their wording is a little bit weird sometimes. But once we hop into the game, we will find out and report back to you guys. So I will see you in the next one. I'm out.